OpenAI has just revealed their new GPT 4o, a new AI updates to their classic ChatGPT. And there's a bunch of things, we've talked about this in the past episodes, kind of what it does. Today on the podcast, what I want to talk about is some very interesting features that no one is talking about. They were not demoed in their video. And they're essentially Easter eggs that people on Twitter or X have been finding and posting that you may have missed. So a lot of these, I think, have the ability for you to make money off of them, to be integrated into businesses or processes you're doing. I'm excited to go over all of these. Before we go over these hidden features, I want to say I want to thank our sponsor, TLDR Newsletter, for sponsoring the episode today. If you are looking for a tech newsletter to keep you up to date on tech news, we will leave a link in the show notes to TLDR. They have great recaps they can send you every day on kind of the top stories in tech and AI news that are happening. Jamie and I both are subscribed to a bunch of tech and news newsletters. It's a really useful way to kind of get information every day on what's happening. So yeah, if you enjoy the podcast, we'd really appreciate it if you subscribe and support our sponsor, as that helps support us. I'll leave a link in the show notes, but let's get into some of these hidden gems that you may have missed in the latest ChatGPT update. Okay, the first one I want to cover that is really, really interesting, Jamie, is 3D objects. So people have found out that you can ask OpenAI's ChatGPT to give you a 3D object. Now, you might be able to see my screen here. Sorry, there's a bit of a glare, but if you can see this kind of rotating animation, this was just pulled right out of the new ChatGPT model, essentially out of DALL-E 3. It's doing a 3D object. What's your take on this?
So are you saying that you would just show it a picture of something and then it will turn it into a 3D animation? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. No, I think that they just said, they put a text input that said a realistic looking 3D rendering of the OpenAI logo with OpenAI shown below.
Wow. Okay. So it's generating that.
And it made it as a GIF.
Wow. That's crazy. That's that's a lot of these.
That's close to video as we're getting in this model, like instantaneously. Like GIFs are videos pretty much.
Yeah, it's like in a way almost like a version of their Sora, platform, but maybe a little bit dumbed down or more on the graphic design side of things. Either way, that's very powerful for any marketer, business owner, someone looking to step up their media game, social media or content. I mean, that's crazy. That's going to save tons of time. Every time I feel like we learn about these new features, it's like, okay, how many jobs is this going to get rid of? Like how many people are going to be out of work because of this?
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so the other one that they're saying, and I'll share my screen, and we'll explain if you're just listening. We'll explain what's going on, but just so anyone watching on YouTube can see better, I'll explain my screen. The next one that was shared by Andrew Gao is text in image. So something that AI models have really struggled with when doing image generation is the text. It's kind of garbled and it doesn't always make sense. And they've done a lot of work to essentially get it so that the text that shows up on a screen is working. So here they're demoing essentially that now it looks like DALL-E 3 has completely fixed that problem. They got they put a prompt in to have a robot chatting, and so it's like a robot hands holding a phone on the screen. It says in the chat bubbles, super clearly written out, super clean. It says, "Yo, so I can see now, caught the sunrise, and it was insane. Colors everywhere." They even have spellings. Anyways, it's crazy. What's your take on this?
I mean, it seems like we're getting closer to being able to emulate a human. Like you said, it's like purposely making mistakes and making human-like errors, even though it's not human. So I know before we've talked about it on the podcast how, having us talking and giving our banter is separating us from the ChatGPT because we're making mistakes, with our pauses, we're saying, but now it's looking like it's learning how to emulate that, which is just wild.
So something that's really interesting to me is I was recently talking to one of my investors on AI Box, which for those that don't know is my own no-code AI app builder and marketplace that we're developing. If you're not on the waitlist for it, you got to get on it. AIbox.ai. I'll leave a link in the show notes. Anyways, I was talking to one of our investors on that project, and he works for a company that creates fonts. And it's such a random like industry I hadn't really thought of before, but their company owns like the rights to like Helvetica and Times New Romans and a bunch of other companies. And you'd think like, oh, like I wonder how much like a font making company, generates. Like, Jamie, give me a guess on like the revenue for, I don't know, a font making company.
I mean, you're saying they own Helvetica? That's pretty...
Times New Roman.
Oh, Times New Roman. Okay. Still, I mean, that's got to be nine figures. I don't know. Is that...
So I don't actually know their exact revenue, but I was talking to their CTO about it, and I also Googled them, and I realized that a couple years ago, just this year, in February, they did a round of funding, essentially, but it was like venture debt funding, and they raised / borrowed in like venture debt $1.5 billion.
Wow.
So that's their latest round of funding, which is some variation of what their, of what their company is worth. Like their company is probably worth way more than that. Anyways, $1.5 billion. I think the company was established in like 1887 or something like that. So it's like really old. But anyways, I bring all of this up to say it is a huge business, this font and font licensing business. And the new version of ChatGPT can create new fonts, which is insane. This is actually something I was recently talking to him about. And he's going to come on the podcast, I think, at the end of the week. So if anyone's interested over on AI Chat, I'll be talking to him about this. And I'll be bringing this up with him, too. So this is actually kind of exciting.
Are you saying that what you're showing on the screen, that font is AI generated?
AI generated font.
Dude, that's crazy.
So he said it used to take them 2 years to create a new font, essentially. And now with AI, it's really expediting that whole font creation. But this was even before this came out. They were just using like, Midjourney and other tools to kind of like help spur ideas, because you have to think of like every single letter in the font, how it's displayed. So anyways, yeah, there's this prompt here where someone says the letter A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J displayed in 3 rows, displayed as one would showcase a font in a font book. This is an ultra futuristic font that is a signature of the artificial intelligence revolution. Okay, they give it the prompt and it has generated what its version of a font is. This is not a font that exists in the world. It's invented this font. Talk about, this is disruption to the billion-dollar font generating companies. Like, come on.
Wow, that's unbelievable. I mean, that combined with the 3D image thing and just all the graphic design stuff. I don't know. I don't know if I told you this, Jaden. I officially deleted or unsubscribed from Adobe Lightroom because
no way
anymore. I use Canva and other like AI type stuff. So, I mean, this could be like when Photoshop goes away too. Like I don't even know. This is crazy stuff.
This is crazy. I mean, I'm going to be 100% honest. I am a Photoshop master, like too good at Photoshop. It's just what I used growing up. I haven't used it. I will use it for very select tasks every once in a while, but it's almost 100% replaced by Canva now.
Yeah, same. Canva is like what I use for editing images and graphic design, all that kind of stuff. So
I think maybe their biggest downfall was that it's like got to be like a browser app that I have to like fire up, whereas like Canva is like web-based. And I think that's what kind of kicked Adobe as well on Adobe XD versus Figma. Because I used to be like, I'm like a power user on Adobe XD. I designed like every single screen and every single graphic on the self-pause app on Adobe XD. And then for AI Box, my new one, it's like everything's on Figma. And I'm like, I could never go back because it's like web-based and XD was not. And XD would like, okay, let me tell you the worst thing. And then we're going to get back. I'm so sorry for this tangent. This is the worst thing about web-based, the worst thing about computer-based apps. If you have Adobe XD, maybe they fixed this problem, but it was prevalent for like a year, and you're editing it like multi-editing, so you pay for the premium thing, so you can have 2 people editing it, but it's a web-based app or a computer-based app. If someone has updates to their computer to a newer version of Adobe XD, it will lock you out so you can't access the files or edit it until you also update to the newest version. So because they come up with a new version like almost every single day, we had like 4 people working on it, and someone was always updating once every 4 days. So every time you wanted to use it, you had to update your computer. This is horrible. Everything should just be web-based, but that's a completely different tangent to complain about. Okay, So the fonts is crazy. What's the next thing that I wanted to cover? They have something else really interesting, which is that it can make sound effects. Jamie, this is huge. Sound effects. They said this isn't just telling it how to do the audio. They've figured out, like, they've cracked audio, not just voices. They said play the sound of a coin clanging on metal. They generate the sound effect. What's your take?
That's cool. That's really cool. I mean, so Suno AI, I'm still absolutely in love with the music generator. For video editing, I canceled Epidemic Sound. I was using Epidemic Sound. I was paying $18 a month for it. After I played around with Suno AI enough, I said, you know what? I am not going to use Epidemic Sound on my YouTube videos anymore. I'm just going to generate tracks from Suno. So, but the one missing piece is the sound effects. And so now, because sometimes you want to add sound effects in videos to make them a little more dynamic and just helps your production quality. But now, if we can have an open source, just OpenAI or ChatGPT generate a sound for me, that's huge too. So there's really, it's eliminating for me another need for another subscription. So
it's absolutely insane. The disruption continues. And the final one I wanted to bring up, which I think is going to have big disruption over on Fiverr, is they gave it a prompt. They said a young white man with medium-length brown hair and a beard makes a neutral expression. He's wearing glasses and a light gray t-shirt. But then they also used, I think it might have been an image, but also that you could do it where it's like the video of you uploaded, and they created a caricature of the person that it's seen. This is something that we haven't really been able to do with the AI models very well yet. I've tried. If you've ever tried to like upload a picture of yourself and be like, hey, make it look like I'm in a professional studio or something, it doesn't do it very good. This is now getting more capable at actually taking your picture and making modifications to it, which I think is really interesting. Before this, you need a lot of like complex software, and you had special apps that would do this.
Yeah, another interesting point about this one in particular is that the AI generating faces, that's been like the biggest challenge, I feel like, up to this point, is for it to learn how to generate an actual human face. That's why you often see like we go back to the Sora video conversation. The AI generated video typically is like a side profile or the back of a person, because the face is like the hardest part for some reason for it to generate. This to me looks like it's getting there. So
yeah, it's looking insane. So these are some unique things you may not have seen in the demo or anywhere else. We wanted you to be aware of them so you can implement these into your businesses, start new side hustles with them. There's a ton of opportunities here. I think if you enjoyed the episode today, we would really appreciate it if you, of course, leave us a review as always, but also subscribe to the TLDR newsletter. It's a tech newsletter. It's going to give you updates every single day. We'll leave a link in the show notes. Anyone that subscribes, it helps support our podcast. So if you enjoy the podcast, consider a tip to us to go and subscribe. And we hope that you all have an amazing rest of your day.